This is The Yay. I'm Reg Clay.
And Norman G.
This is The Yay, where we talk about life in the theater and the theater of life.
Yay.
As always, we are sponsored by Central Works, a new play theater headed up by Gary Graves and Jan Zleifer. Central Works, reinventing theater one play at a time. Once again, we want to thank Central Works for sponsoring us in our fifth year. Let's see, hold it, 17, 18, 19, 20, no, 21, that's right. No, 22. So this is 2022. Yes, it is 2022. So we're beginning our sixth year. And it's been wonderful to have Central Works sponsoring us and Mallory Samara, our consulting producer, helping us out. And we have a fantastic guest. I know her as Golda Sargento. She is known also as Rebel Maria. Rebel, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me. Hello,
Yeah.
Reg. Hello, Norman.
I know. It's almost like a family reunion. It's almost like we're back in Bindlestiff again.
Yeah.
Shall I call? I mean, what should I call you? What would be the appropriate way? Golda.
Yeah, I have my full name is Rebel Maria Golda Supernova Malapit Sargento, but you can call me Golda.
Right on, Golda.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
Well, hey, you've earned it.
You gotta be multi-dimensional, so
yeah,
they have to know you in different names, in your different versions, your different forms. So.
Of course.
Yeah. Yes. A dynamic name for a dynamic person. You are an actress. You are I consider you a rock star. You know, you have your rock band, and I know you from Stories High. I think we first met in 2011. That's when Bindlestiff opened up their studio, the Black Box Theater on, I think, 5th and Mission. And that was a wonderful moment. Of course, losing E was horrible. But other than that, you know, it was a wonderful moment, and just, you know, the energy, and you were part of that energy. So I think that was the first time that I met you. But in any case, how are you and how are your kids?
Thanks for asking. I am decent, like as any citizen can be on Earth right now. Feeling, you know, doing my responsible things, raising my feral wolf cub. He's a young wolf of a man now, and my polar bear cub, she's 16 and like formidable. Wow. So I'm very proud, obviously. And then otherwise, like, I have a day job, a night job, a weekend job, and I'm feeling very feral, wild, purposeful, really focused. So yeah, thanks for asking. Doing well.
And also, you know, very, very artistically just driven, and, you know, you're doing all sorts of very, very cool stuff. It doesn't sound like COVID has affected you at all, or has it?
I mean, well, we've had to just kind of put our ear to the ground and just make our best choice every single time. So we went, you know, internal in our caves real early on, had our existential crisis early, you know, made our deal just moment to moment, and pivoted to what I like to call theater for the screen, which is, you know, film won't claim us, TV won't claim us, but we can just make our own thing called theater for the screen, which you folks have been doing really well, as you know, as we can see on episode 220. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, it's one of those things we had to be involved in Zoom, sort of dragging and screaming. I mean, we really enjoyed the live stuff, but of course we want to be mindful of folks who are, you know, worried about Omicron and all that sort of stuff. And that involves all of the theaters as well. I'm sort of zoomed out, you know, if it's not a day meeting that I'm dealing with Zoom, or it's Zoom rehearsals, it's a Zoom world, whether we like it or not, but it is what it is.
Right.
And we'll learn more about you. Norman, as I begin every podcast, how's your week?
Did I show you this last time?
Yeah, you did. It's tracking your.
Did I show you this? Oh, come on, act right.
It's tracking your heartbeat.
Yes, that is my heartbeat.
All right.
I'm freaking out about this. I got another week of this market research thing that I'm doing. Twice a day, I have to take my blood pressure and my pulse. And then every now and then, like today, it asked me to do something extra. So that has been this weird daily ritual. Like literally, when I start in the morning, it asks me, have you eaten? Have you washed up? You know, have you had any caffeine? Have you had any drugs or alcohol? You know, I'm like, what the hell? This is
like your digital mom.
And then every now and then I hit the wrong thing and it tells me how many steps I've taken. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care. But as long as it's all getting recorded where it needs to be recorded, I've got another week of it and then I'm done. And
Are
I
they
was
paying
telling
you? I imagine
what's
they're
that?
paying you.
It's a weird program. So for the 15 days that I'm supposed to do this, it's about $500. I think it's a little bit more, actually, maybe more than a little bit more, but and then they ask some people to do extra. So there's a potential of going 30 days. I don't think I want to wear this thing because it's 12 hours a day. I have to wear it 12 hours every day.
Do you have to
So
sleep? You don't have to sleep with it on, right?
they do not want you to sleep with it, but I've gotten in the habit. See, now I'm telling stories now. I got in the habit of waking up in the morning and putting it on and just pulling the cover back up. So, I don't take my blood pressure until I'm ready to get up. But
Yeah.
no,
The
it's
digital world, I mean, I've been sort of resistant on it. I mean, of course, I love my digital toys, but I try to restrict it. I mean, now, watches, I don't know, reading your health and all that sort of stuff. I'm a bit, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but it is what it is.
well, and it's incredibly convenient.
Mhm.
Like I do occasionally forget that I've got it on, and occasionally, like if I'm teaching or something, all you have to do is turn your arm up, and there it is. Like, oh, okay, that's what time it is. Oh,
Golda, are you a slave of the digital world? I mean, do you?
No, I'm like, give me your old phone. Anybody have a laptop with this charger? Like, I'm completely like
right.
second hand on the other hand, steez. Like,
I love it.
I do have a concern with my current phone, which is like it's going it's gone like analog AI on me. So I gotta switch it up a little bit. But no, I'm really into like stories, so I watch a lot of stuff. I read news online. Um, I like being able to search for things on YouTube, and it's kind of ridiculous how you can really look for anything and it's there. So in that sense, like I do like the access. But as far as like actual devices, I don't indulge. I haven't been able to indulge, let's say.
Yeah, and I don't even, they're just because Apple wants you to buy the latest thing, and well, I do buy. I have, the laptop that I use right now is the
Uh-huh.
M1 Mac, only because my other one, the battery is just going crazy. But you really don't need the latest stuff. I mean, if you're just surfing the web and you're just typing things, you really don't need the greatest processor. So, we don't have to be the slaves of every single thing. So that's cool. That's cool to be old school.
Right. But to be fair, like the things that you're doing with editing and like just the amount of like storage space you need to put on the show, like that's the point that we're making with theater for screen. Like when I had to start editing my stuff, going and then going from like, oh yeah, let's take a bunch of footage, like 50 minutes, and then you only use like 2 minutes of it. Like, we stopped doing that, of course, but the the cutting programs, the editing programs, storage, how you're going to upload it, like that becomes sort of an issue when you take on these bigger projects for the
Right,
screen.
right, yeah, exactly. And that's when you need, the bigger computers or whatever, or
Yeah.
all these programs like Photoshop and
Mhm.
like in music, I'm sure, because I'm sure you're still involved in music, so I'm sure you know about the DAWs like Ableton Live or Cubase or Pro Tools and things like that.
Mhm.
That's when you know just how much of a computer that you need. But I mean, I still remember the old days of the typewriter. As a matter of fact, when we did the Richard Wright thing before The
Right.
Dream, Norman, one of the props that I loved playing with was that old typewriter.
Me too.
Hmm.
I loved having that. I've still got it up in my attic.
Yeah,
Oh.
we may be the last generation to remember learning how to type on a typewriter.
Hmm. Like not an electric one, like a full on just key press
Clack,
one.
clack,
Yeah.
mechanical. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Although even I do remember the IBM Selectrics. My mom used to use that a lot.
Hmm.
Um, let's get into some current events. Well, I guess the biggest current event is Stephen Breyer, the Supreme Court Justice. He will retire in June. It sounds like it's a timed retirement. He wanted to, I guess, wait until Biden came into office or a Democrat comes into office to sort of make sure that there will be a Democrat um, Democrat to bring in a liberal Supreme Court justice. So there have
Well,
been
they've
some
been pushing him
criticisms.
for for almost the whole year. They've been pushing him to do it.
Yeah, I forgot who I was talking to. I don't know if it was you, Norman, but there's been controversy about why would Biden announce that he will have a African American female justice as if it were, affirmative action, that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't see a problem with it at all, and why not? Um, we need to have some equality in the Supreme Court. Golda,
Mhm.
here I'll ask you a question. I mean, a couple actually, I guess it was late last year there were these conservative states that were basically, in Texas, if a young girl, let's say, needed an abortion, she would have to go out to another state or whatever. So it's really horrible that a woman can only really be free depending upon what state she's in. I mean, do you feel less free, or were you triggered, I guess, by, what's happening with the Supreme Court at all, or do you just go with the flow with
I
what's
mean, there's the symptoms of the larger, um, kind of system in place, right? Like the whole control over a female's body, that just goes right back into female as property, which, back when females couldn't own property and were the property of men, like this goes back to like some like colonial times and established societies back then. And they want to kind of couch it in the laws and the language of the day, but it really stems back from that old system. And until we sort of see that root, they're gonna pass this law or not pass this law or kind of make these choices. But that fundamental idea that it is important to control women, as like a power move for the white cis male, hierarchy, patriarchy, like they're gonna pull all kinds of stunts no matter what law it looks like. So abortion this or that, or it is triggering, but it's just a flex. So the more we're able to call it out and see it what it is, and really just find its historical roots, it's kind of demystify like where it is they're coming from. Like,
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I mean,
oh,
even the father handing off the child to, giving the hand of the daughter to the groom as if it were property. Like, yes, you can have this property. Those wedding traditions. You're absolutely right. It's sort of it can be misogynistic. That's the word that I was looking for.
mhm.
So it's an unfortunate thing, and I'm hoping that with a more balanced Supreme Court, although it's still very, very conservative. I think we're going to need at least something to happen to one of the other conservatives, and I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon. Speaking of which, Evan Rachel Wood. So this gets into Marilyn Manson. This came in the news. Evan Rachel Wood did an interview. She, if you ever watch, what is it, Westworld, she's the lead actress of Westworld, and she talks about how when she was the girlfriend of Marilyn Manson, there was a music video where it was supposed to be a sex scene, and she talks about him actually penetrating her,
Oh
and
my god.
just how horrible that was. I mean, and it was an actual video, and I guess
Wow.
she didn't say anything about it, and now she's talking about it. Just basically what women go through. I mean, that's really the extreme.
Mhm. One
Um,
hopes.
huh?
I said one hopes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's what happened in the news. RFK Jr. anti-vax rally. I mean, these anti-vaxxers. I mean, so the anti-vaxxer happened last Sunday, and when I think about Robert F. Kennedy Jr., he's so far away from his father, Robert F. Kennedy Sr., who really has helped strengthen the civil rights movement. You've got that going on. A funny thing, a 22-month-old toddler in Jersey spent $1,800 using her mother's phone, and the mother didn't know anything about it. I guess she just the mother gave this toddler the phone to play with. And the toddler, I guess you can buy things on your phone, and all of a sudden all these packages start coming in, and nobody knows what's going on. Goldie, you cut in and out. You still there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
So that was a funny thing that happened in the news. So I think those are the main things that are happening out there. I didn't want it to get too deep into current events.
Well, I did want
Uh,
to check in about the other thing happening right now is just like Golda. I'm watching a student head back off to college, and
Oh,
like that's actually happening as we speak.
right. Tomorrow they
They
go back.
got him a room yesterday, and they're taking stuff today.
That'll be nice. I feel so
Mhm.
bad about the kids. I mean, with COVID-19, of course, working shelter in place, working from home, actually I'm saving a lot of money. So it's actually been a benefit for me. However, for kids who just want to, see their classmates again, or who want to go to the prom, or who just want to hang out. I mean, I remember all sorts of things that I did when I was 17, 18. Um, Kids they really just can't do that anymore. How are your kids holding up to COVID-19, and how are they dealing just psychologically with having to wear the mask all the time and maybe not being able to communicate face to face with their friends?
Yeah, I'd hope they'd be used to it by now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so mine's are in one's in high school and one's second year on a college campus. First year on the campus because last year was all remote for both my high schooler and my first year college. So second year is on campus and it's still remote a little bit. They're going back in person tomorrow, but the vibe on the campus is like there's going to be a lot of personal responsibility, you know, self-reporting, there's nothing necessarily like, and everyone just kind of setting a good example. And then like for mine's a high schooler, yeah, it's just like in person masks, tests, um, reported cases every day. It's everything is obviously unprecedented, but as far as like missing out on stuff, it's like, man, you can hold the pot with, from the handle or on the bottom. You know what I mean? Like if you hold it from the bottom, yeah, you're gonna get burned. If you be like, yeah, I missed out on this, I missed out on this. But
Right.
if you hold it in a certain way, you get to kind of look at it where it's like, well, we had this unprecedented, thing happen and we had an opportunity to deal with it responsibly. And that's kind of where, just as a protocol, we just try to look at things. So as far as being disappointed, it's like, you know, the whole world's going through it, some better than most. So,
Yeah. Well, it
we're
sounds
not
like,
Democrats, yeah.
yeah, no, it sounds like your kids are level-headed and they're handling it well. So that's good. And also, with these games, I mean, people are streaming, the kids are streaming and having conversations online. So maybe they're not missing out as much as we would have if, something like that, a pandemic would happen during our time when we were kids. So, maybe.
But it's crazy because going back, there's still Trump, there's still like, you know what I mean? Like being online, like that was really hard, I think for my high schooler too. But then being in person, it's like there is a whole nother other thing that's activated as far as like challenges, like you're scared. There's still
Of course, yeah, because I heard that there's even another Omicron variant rolling around. Of course, the CDC says that if you're vaccinated and you've had your booster shot, and they're now debating maybe you'll need another booster shot, that everything will be okay. You just don't know. I mean, I'm constantly
Right.
reading the news to find out, okay, do I need to be scared? Do I need to not worry? And what's going on? I'm very glad to be in California because it sounds like we're doing things a lot better here.
Mm.
All righty. Well, let's get into an origin story. Rebel Maria Golda Sargento, tell us an origin story. Where were you born and raised?
So the Sargentos, actually it's Sargento, like
Sargento. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, the Sargentos are from Makati, Philippines, and Manila, and the Malapits are from Ilocos Norte in the Philippines. So my mom is from the south, and my dad's from the middle, and they met in Manila, and then we went to Alaska. That's actually where my my hyphen comes in, my American, Alaska, Anchorage specifically. So
Wow.
we went from the tropics to there, and I had
Boy,
kind
that's
of
a hell of
that,
a culture shock. Go ahead.
yeah, it's temperature fully, like I'm 3. So I don't know anything about passports or nothing. I just know it was hot where I was from. Now it's cold.
Right.
So I think that's as like, polarized as you can get. But that's where I spent my formidable years in Anchorage.
In Alaska, wow. I think you have siblings, right? Brothers and sisters?
Two brothers, yeah, two brothers.
Okay. Are you the middle,
I'm a
oldest, youngest?
middle. How did you know? Was
Oh,
it?
I just guessed. I just guessed. Are they involved in the arts as well?
It's when you're from, I like to think that like when you're from an immigrant family like us, like everyone has to be creative a little bit, you know? Um, and in Alaska, it kind of affords that just in the living, like how are you gonna go, like when you go fishing, what's your, like you get to be creative in different ways because there's these different things, but not necessarily in the arts. Like um there's some community members, like social justice people, family members. My mom, particularly, she's known for her um, community building organizations, and my father was a singer. My father was the crooner. I call him the boxing crooner because he was a boxer, but he was also he serenaded my mom. That's how he wooed her.
Wow. Oh,
Very,
that
very
is
old
just
school.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, and my dad's a singer as well, so that's something I can see where you get the singing from. So how long did you how long when did you leave Alaska and come into the Bay?
Like, I kind of started traveling south, so Alaska, just kind of a time machine. It's not the now or not the future. If you're gonna be an artist, you kind of have to hit the lower 48, which is what we call the continental US. So
Right.
I went to school in Washington State and then Oregon, and then I landed in California where some of my relatives were, like late 90s.
The late
And
90s? Yeah.
mhm,
Now, were you involved in theater or music in Alaska? I don't know if there's any arts or I don't know if there's a
yeah.
theater community there.
Um, well, what's kind of funny or not, um, or mysterious, I don't know, depending on your genre taste. But it was like very, I want to say isolating, which might be an understatement, but it was sort of isolating being an unpronounced artist in Alaska. Like all my singing was radio or what we call minus one, which was a singing program before karaoke. Look it up. It's called minus one.
Right.
It was with cassette tapes, like it was genius. And radio, which was like genreful, like there was no genres. It was just things were on the radio, and it was like rock and roll and R&B and soul and classics, and it was all on one radio station. Um, and then I had exposure to literature, which is kind of like my educational focal point, and creative writing in that way. So it's kind of like all my art was like I didn't go to art school. I didn't have a class in singing. Like there was, it wasn't like people grow you to be an artist like they do nowadays. You know what I mean? Like it was just like I found records and listened to things because I watched the movie and I liked that song, and I would find out which band did that song. And that's how I got into finding out about so many different like punk rock bands up in Alaska, and like hip hop stuff before it was out, because you have to hunt. I know that sounds so funny, but even in Alaska, even with art, if you like it, you have to hunt for it. You have to like be purposeful. There's no clubs, there's no shows, there's no concerts.
Wow, I just couldn't imagine that. Yeah, it's funny. I remember Norman and we talked. I forget what episode we talked about this, but I talked about how when I was listening to radio, how what am I trying to say? How segregated radio could be, or radio was in the 70s, where I didn't listen to punk rock. I didn't even know anything about punk rock until I
Oh.
went to New York, because when I was in DC, it was WHUR, it was soul, and
Right.
that was it.
Mm.
And I think you've went through the same thing. But it sounds like Golda, when you were listening to radio in Alaska, you got a bit of everything, because everything was on one channel or one radio
Yeah,
station.
there was still, it was, kind of like the police, the police was on with like,
New
like,
wave.
yeah, there wasn't like a huge, there was also like a kind of a cult cutting, like a underground culture, like underground radio, even like,
Uh-huh.
it's just because you have to make it. you have to make it by yourself. Like you have to make it on your own. Like no one's really focusing on that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, when you mentioned Washington, being in Washington, I imagine that would be in the 90s. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean grunge. I mean that was the hotbed of grunge, where Kurt Cobain and you have oh shucks, I forget the Pearl Jam. You know,
Yeah.
those folks. I mean, was that sort? Did you get caught up in the
Yeah.
grunge thing?
It was cool because Seattle sort of like even before the grunge, it was like the big city in Alaska. Like the cool some of the rich people, if they wanted to like flex, they would fly to Seattle for like to shop for the prom dress. Like Seattle was like our metropolis. Like if you're from Alaska, it's like cosmopolitan, um but just even relatably, like we were wearing the flannels because it's cold in Alaska too, and like the boots because it's that's the kind of stuff you wear up there. And so I was really relating to it, and the fact that it's kind of like punk music but kind of blended with kind of a heavy metal vibe, that's sort of what was like in Alaska too. Like yeah.
Yeah,
Metal.
no, that is really really cool. Um, so when did theater? I'm going to imagine that theater really didn't come into your periphery until you came to the Bay, but I may be wrong. I mean, when did theater reach you?
I mean, I'm kind of like, man, I'm coming back to my people with like this, theater because I studied literature. So I read Shakespeare and Chaucer and like I went through that, like I was kind of indoctrinated into that kind of like format for theater. And when I did come to the Bay, that's when I found all kinds of counterculture as far as theater was concerned. I was exposed to some really cool counterculture literature, which was eye-opening, like the Big IE and some of like Jessica Hagedorn's books. And so I did know that there was like that, but theater to me was never accessible until I came to the Bay.
Oh,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Norman and I, we've been talking about what, because we encounter theater companies and they have their version of what theater is. This is proper theater, Shakespeare, like working with Susan Evans, who was the artistic director for EastEnders Repertory Company and Town Hall Theater. She came from an academic background. So when she was the artistic director, she focused on like Carol Churchill or Pinter, or what you can consider classic theater, where you really have to be learned to be her type of actor, or else she just wouldn't cast you, or she would put you in something else. And I can understand where she was going through with that, and there are a lot of artistic directors who go through that, but it does push people away. I mean, Norman, have you encountered, I mean, you've been involved in both the, I guess, high art of theater, but also sort of the ground level for the people type of theater as well.
well, I mean, hopefully it's all for the people, but how do you make it? Where do you make it? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and how do you make it accessible to everybody?
we did a show in a dumpster under the freeway in San Francisco once. I would imagine that's technically accessible, but it was pretty weird.
Yeah, and that was Oakland Public Theater.
No, that was before Oakland Public Theater. No, I was working with another group. Oh God, what are they called? Theater Forte. It was a group of folks that I'd gone to college with at San Francisco State, and their first big project out of the box was this show that they decided needed to be real.
Wow.
So it was set in the future, but we were doing it under the freeway. It was very dark and weird and fun. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised to see that we got an audience.
That's awesome.
Was your first time on stage, Golda? Would it be Bindlestiff, or were you on stage earlier than that?
I mean, I guess I'd have to say, aside from some spoken word and some like bad music debut with no music,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you gotta have some bad ones to know that you want a good one.
Right.
Yeah, Bindlestiff was it. Like I think I came in with a group called Overseas Artists, or OA for short, which is a pun on overacting, which is a Filipino term for doing too damn much. So OA was this edutainment collective with from Oakland,
Mhm.
and we ended up doing a like a show at Bindlestiff. They invited us because we met at the Cell Space in San Francisco. So Tongue in a Mood, which was the primary theater group that transformed Bindlestiff into a Filipino American
Right. No, I remember those folks.
space. Right. Oh yeah, absolutely cool. Alan and Joyce and them,
Yep.
Ramon and Kevin and Patty. So
Patty
Patty
Cachapero.
Cachapero, the
God.
genius, right? She's such
Yeah,
a great
she was amazing.
amazing performer as well, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Writer, performer, absolutely. So Tongue in a Mood consisted of a group of friends and performers, but the writing was Patty Cachapero, Kevin Kamiya, and Alan Manalo. Ramon Abad did some crazy shadow and also his like physical comedy, reminiscent of Charlie Chaplin was really cool too. So then the musical element, see, that's what kind of set fire to Tongue in the Mood, was the fact that they had this live band that was doing all this musical in-person stuff. So they saw our stuff, overseas artists. I joined them. They were already together, but I ended up joining them. Then we did this show at the theater at Bindlestiff. And then, just I kind of never left. Like I did Eighth Wonder there, which was a spoken word artist. And then I just kept, even though I'm not an actor, I just kept getting cast in plays. Like,
Well, you may not be an actress, but I mean, you do. I'll consider you, if you were to consider yourself an actress, a character actress. I mean, I remember you doing we did did a Zoom reading. I think it was late last year, where you took on a bunch of characters. I forget what play it was in. Do you remember that, Golda?
I mean, I did a bunch of different plays for one series. I think if you caught Conrad's, which I played the Wicked Witch of the West.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
She was my favorite. I actually was like, who would have thought? I love a villain. I love playing a villain. So I guess you're right. So someone who's not educated in theater like me, who came at it from a literary point of view and then just kind of got thrown into some great situations, really good people, in a space that was accessible, right? I don't have language for, for that. So I didn't know that I might be characterized as a character actor. So that's really good to know.
Yeah. And obviously, the folks at Bendlestiff saw something in you and they were like, hey, that's the energy that we need. I mean, I recognized it immediately. I mean, everyone at Bendlestiff at that time had just wonderful energy, and you did as well, and your kids. And the memory that I have of you are your kids, swarming around you. I mean, if I were a child, I mean, my parents, I mean, I remember swarming around my dad when he had his band in the 70s. This is the time where you had the OJs and the Delphonics and the Dells. And my dad was a part of that group, at least in the DC area. And I enjoyed going down in the basement, just watching them gig and then talk afterwards, talk the crap. And then, just that dynamic. And your kids, I mean, they just swarmed around you when they were young kids because they fed off of your energy. And I was like, wow, how cool would it be to have a cool parent who was also involved in theater? So that's the lasting memory that I have. And I really do think that the arts, whether it be theater or music, can bind family together. Do you find that it binds you and your kids together?
I think the biggest thing is them just seeing me do it, like me make it and do it and be it and take it serious. Like it's important, like if the world isn't going to tell you that art is important, like my generation, no one's encouraged to be an artist. I'm sorry, like that's not an option. Like, I'm so sorry. You could draw and sing and paint as much as you want, but that's not what you're doing for a living, honey. Like, forget that, excuse me. But I feel like for them, just the idea of whether it be art or anything, take it serious, make it your job. Like, even if no one's paying you, even if you just made this job up yourself, because it is just what you want to do, and it's just validating the fact that something that you create is enough for you to do it for your life, and then just seeing, I would have to talk about, like, there's rehearsals involved. So like I got my littles and she's just like, I know you have to practice, but I can't stop crying. And then I gotta be like, baby, I get that. Like, you love your mama. I'm so thankful you love your mama. I love you too. How lucky we are to love and miss each other this much. But you know what else I love? I love getting off the stage feeling like I did a really good job. Because sometimes I've gotten off the stage and I haven't felt good at all. And then I was like, dang, all of that was a waste of time. I wasted those people's time. I wasted my bandmates' time, and I disappointed myself. I don't want to feel like that. So in order for me to feel good, man, I gotta do good. In order for me to do good, I gotta go to practice, girl. You gotta let mama go. And so by that lead, like, they see the investment that you put into it, they understand where all your energy is going, and they get that you're doing something, and they get that you're taking it serious enough. And then when you get off stage, even if they don't understand it, like, they've watched me in plays they don't get, they watched me do different kinds of music they don't understand, but they know when mama gets off and the stage and is proud of herself, or feels like, her effort was worthwhile, or that, it was worth the time. They know what that looks like. So
Yeah, we had Priya Gayadine on, who is now doing stand-up comedy now. It's fascinating seeing her transition, because when we first met her, Priya, she was purely an actress, and she had did
We didn't know she was funny.
yeah, professional stuff, and now she's found her footing. But she talked about motherhood. She talked about having a young son, and we actually had her during the rehearsals, have her son come to the rehearsals to help her out with
Daycare.
she didn't have anyone to take care of the child.
Yeah, childcare, yeah.
And she talked about how it's important to see her son, have her son see her, not just as mommy, but also as a complete human being who can do different things, as a complete adult. And it was important for her to not just be, a lot of individuals, and we've had some individuals come on, say, after motherhood, I sort of had to curtail a lot of things just because I've got this new role as a mom, which is sort of a sad thing. I mean, obviously motherhood is very important, but you're still an independent woman. I mean, you're still an independent person who has all sorts of things that you want to get out of your system via art. So that's very important, isn't it, Golda?
It is. Like, well, economically speaking, I couldn't do two things. I couldn't be like this kind of person and then this kind of person. Like, I only had the heart to be one kind of person. So I was just gonna have to make sure I hit all the notes. Like, if I'm gonna be an artist, of course I'm gonna be a good mom. I'm gonna be able to, like, those aren't like mutually exclusive. They don't mean like you can't be that or the other. As far as like, yeah, but yeah, you're gonna have to be willing to have your swarming brood like climb up you, like asking for chips while you are writing out your set list and trying to find your bass player. You know what I mean? Because like that's kind of the deal.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Oh, you wanted silence? Like, oh, you wanted like non-chaos? Like, oh yeah, that's not an option anymore. Like, you either throwing this whole thing on the boat, or it's leaving without you. So that's what's so cool about having the kids like be a part of that world is compartmentalizing can be convenient, but it's not realistic. And being able to be a little uncomfortable often is worth being able to be yourself the whole time. Like, and the deal was like, I was basically, I was outnumbered. Like, I'm a single mom raising my two kids, right? And at one point they were smaller than me. I'm still outnumbered, but they're littler, right? But my odds are gonna change. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they've gotten. Is the oldest one bigger, taller than you?
I'm gonna be outnumbered. I'm gonna be outgunned. Like, I gotta do this right now, or so the math is gonna fall in my favor. So,
well, they'll always respect you.
Oh, thank you. Well, as far as art goes, like, they are artistic, but man, I had to hold myself back. Oh, excuse my neighborhood.
It's okay. It's all good.
Not too hard, because I kind of had a stage mom in some ways, and I really didn't want that for my kids. I didn't want my kids.
Well, I never got a sense that you were pushing them on stage. I mean, if they want to do it, then they can do it, right?
Yeah, they're very creative, and it's exciting when they do create, because I just love. It's gonna keep them company their whole life, So But honestly, I think you have to be creative in order to figure out how to get to work when your bus is late, or
Right.
yeah, like you have to make things anew. Like you can't. It's not just restricted to the arts, right? Like
Yeah, you're right. I want to share one quick story about you, Golda, just a memory that I have of you. I remember we were hanging out at Bindlestiff. I don't know if it was Stories High 12 or 14. I think you were involved in, were you involved in Stories High 14?
I think I produced that one with Ori.
Yeah, I think you did. And we were outside, and if anyone knows, Fifth and Mission, you got all sorts of folks. You got the homeless, you got some folks who are dealing with drugs and all sorts of things. And I think you had a conversation, just a spontaneous conversation with a homeless person who was just walking by. And I think you were just checking in to see if they were okay. And I
Mhm.
was like, wow, that it takes a special type of a person to sort of have a heart for everyone. I mean, it just told me a lot about your character. I mean, you are a very, very warm individual. I that it just stuck in my mind. I don't even know if you remember that
Mm,
interaction.
that must have been Juliet. I mean, I know who you're talking about. Like, there's only, I don't know if I would describe myself as being warm, but if I was sweet on you, I would for sure check up on you. And there was one person I was particularly sweet on, as far as like the locals in the neighborhood of Sixth and Sixth and Howard, where Bindlestiff was. Her name was Juliet, and she she was often she was often around and often unwell. So I was kind of looking out for her whenever I saw her. And you can't help but be a part of the space, the area, when you're there so much. It's like you can ignore it, but those parking tickets will remind you. I mean, like,
Right.
Or the occasional
yeah,
broken windows. There have been a couple of
yeah.
times Bindlestiff had to repair the windows. But I mean, Bindlestiff is a integral part of that neighborhood. It's actually one of the reasons why the neighborhood is building, it's changing.
Mm.
Sometimes you need those institutions, whether it be the upscale store or theater company. I really do think a theater company uplifts a community. I mean, you've seen that, Normal. Is that you sneezing, Norman?
That is me. Excuse me. I'm
It's
gonna get
okay.
this Kleenex.
But I mean, you can. I mean, oh, he's on. So I was going to ask you, Norman. You've seen companies come in and they've uplifted a community. A community's like we've seen it with the Noodle Factory when we brought in Before the Dream. I'm sure that sort of uplifted that neighborhood at least for a little
I'm
bit. The Noodle
hoping we're
Factory isn't
in
even
one of
there
those
anymore.
eras now. It was neat watching Bindlestiff go from that little dark studio on an alley that they were in to that
Mhm.
beautiful space.
Oh, thank
And
you.
right now we're hearing, theaters that are trying to come back.
Yeah.
Um, some of them seem to be able to make it happen. We'll see who survives. It's always interesting. If you're in long enough, you get that pleasant or unpleasant
I mean,
surprise of who's still
you're
in.
so right. Like Bindlestiff coming up, and yet like it still has the DIY element to it.
Yeah,
We have a board of directors now, and we are beholden to a bigger entity,
yeah,
but the community is still very much like, oh, like we didn't get that grant. Oh, like
right.
we've been kind of like under the radar is the kind word. Is a kind way of putting it, but you know unapologetic is also another word. Like we kind of get to do what we want as a result of being so far under the radar. So
Yeah.
being underfunded, for example, or not having like that regular support, it hasn't necessarily affected. um
No, business has been going on. I think hasn't it been? Is it 20 or 30 years?
yes,
Hey,
30 years. They celebrated 30 years, I think, a couple of years ago,
yeah.
2011. Yeah,
Yeah. There was a gala, and the gala was sold out. I think after you with $100 tickets, and that's just a testament to how important Bindlestiff is. And we've had so many ex-Bindlestiffers on our program talk about the wonders of Bindlestiff and how great. We've had Alan Kismorio on. We've had Percy. We've had Michael Dorado. Just goes on, and and they have all talked about how for a lot of them, it's changed their lives. So, Bindlestiff has meant so much to the theater community and also to the community right there. So that's cool. Let's talk about what you're doing with Shotgun. How did you get involved with My Hate Letter to the Great American Theater?
Yeah.
wow. Well, I feel like, for example, when you have no, I honestly, I'm so honored that Shotgun like brought this opportunity to me. um as far as how I got involved, it's still somewhat of a mystery. Oh, we haven't done anything in person yet, so I haven't been able to like find out. But I'm sure it has something to do with um my very public uh like if I may say, like a FU-esque to to just the path that I've taken. I think Shotgun, I really wanted to work with them at some point, and so far I even admire the way they've been dealing with reintroducing theater in COVID. You know, their COVID policies are really on point. Their transparency as far as who you're working with is really on point, and it's just been an honor so far. So I don't want to say anything like spoily, but my hate letter, Diana O's My Hate Letter to the Great American Theater, is basically like getting 86 from like the fanciest, bougiest, club in town.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think I got involved kind of by being a bit of a rascal in public.
Did they reach out to you? So they reached out to you. I mean, whoever's doing the, I'm not sure who's producing it. I don't know if Shotgun themselves are producing it, or if someone rented out the Shotgun space, or they're using the name.
No, it's Shotgun, isn't it? I thought it was Shotgun.
Yeah, yes, it is Shotgun. Yeah, it's Shotgun. Patrick's on board.
Yeah,
Oh, yay.
I've got the link here. I'll just click on the
Mei
link.
Liang and Erica Oba. It's part of their Champagne reader series.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm
Which I
reading it.
think
The
is
Champagne
theirs.
Stage Reading Series.
Yeah,
We give our actors just enough staging and tech, and then let adrenaline do the rest.
Ha.
So that goes right in line with the 6 rehearsals. So rehearsals start February 5th, and the show launches February 17th through the 20th. So just a wee touch of, what do they call it? Tech and what? I didn't even read that part.
Yeah, that's what they have on their the website. And of course, my hate letter to the Great American Theater, a brutally candid, painful, and bitingly funny play about transparency, honesty, and repairing centuries of damage done in the American theater industries. Oh, Diana O's play embraces the power of naming and celebrating truth on a journey towards building a balanced relationship that is no longer oppressive, silencing, or damaging. So that's a mouthful,
So
but
I
it
don't
sounds
need
like there's
to-
definitely a message to be told about, and it's something that we talked about earlier right here, about what is the theater that is palatable or that reaches the community, and what is theater that's, sort of on, that's on the higher upper echelon.
Yeah, I think we're reintroducing theater in an environment that has been asking a lot of questions of theater. So I think Shotgun's move to produce Diana O's play is and including their kind of like this full gauge of support for the artist in COVID, like I mentioned before, is kind of like it's like a grand statement, I think, in these times for theater. Like, you could do something old, or you could do something kind of like really determined to be heard in a new way, kind of thing, which is what I think my hate letter is. I didn't mean to be vague about how I got involved. I honestly don't know. They sent me an offer letter. I was very honored.
No, hey, that's awesome. I mean, obviously, your reputation has gone such that people are reaching out to you, which is a wonderful thing. I get the sense, just the fact that, I mean, when I think of Shotgun, I think of Jet Presario. Jet Presario, he came on the Yay a couple of years ago. He was in, I think the play was called White. If you remember, Norman.
Yep, I do.
Shotgun produced it, and Jet talked about how the play dealt with racial lines and relationships. I think Jet played a part of an individual who was in a relationship with a white individual, but also there was another character who was a Black woman, and it dealt with just how we deal with race relations. But it was very clear that Shotgun wanted to not do traditional theater, but they wanted to get into theater that actually talked about what was happening in the world, but also something that would reach out to artists. If there's one thing that's happening with COVID-19, putting a pause on performances that have had to cancel, it's given a platform for artists to say, hey, listen, while we're paused, I want to introduce plays that speak to me. I want to, something that Eli Sonny Urquiza, in his living document, he's like, I don't want to just be cast and be playing the role of the butler or the ingenue or whatever. I want to speak to, something that speaks to me as an artist. And I think this is all part of what I would think a revolution in theater, at least in Bay Area theater now. I mean, that's at least what I'm seeing. Is that what you guys are seeing? I think that's where this nucleus of a new type theater is coming from.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like addressing it is the best way to deal with all the other things that we can't necessarily fix in the first season, right? Like
Right.
I just even feel like, even the theater shutting down or waiting to reopen because they're addressing internalized things. I think all those things, are okay to take time. I feel like more of the criticism that I agree with is when people try to open too soon, or try to ignore, open too soon, meaning like they didn't do the work yet, and they're ignoring kind of what that conversation that happened with documents, Eli's,
Right, exactly, because they want to, I'm sure there are a lot of artistic directors, who run companies are like, hey, who are you to tell us what theater we're going to do? We're going to do our, this is our lane,
right.
and no one's going to change us. We've been doing this for the last 20, 30, or, God knows how many years. No one's going to tell us, what we're going to do. So you have that. I want to sort of bring Norman in. You've been sort of silent, Norman, but I'm sure you've seen this in the years that you've been involved. Huh?
I'm sorry, I've been having. So you asked about, at the beginning, you always ask what's new with you. Y'all know what that is? That's a
Yes.
neti pot.
A neti pot.
Oh, for your nose, right?
Oh my God, I've been sneezing for days and just bleh. So
Congested?
yeah, I'm sitting here just trying to contain. So
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no. I totally understand. Thank you for, because we sometimes do the show whether we're well or sick or whatever. I was just going to ask you, Norman, if you can. I mean, you've been here in the Bay Area for 25, 30, maybe even longer.
Long as dirt. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure you've seen companies that are like, hey, listen, this is our program, this is our season, and we're going to give the people what they want, regardless if it's what the artist wants. I mean, have you seen a transition between, I guess, what we would call traditional theater and a newer type of theater?
I would say it's trends, because for every new type of theater that's happening, there's somebody who goes back to the old standards and gives them new life. And to touch on something Golda was talking about, that a lot of theaters are wrestling with this stuff like diversity, inclusivity, all that stuff, trying to figure out how they can be better than theater used to be, in terms of their social activism. And it's not even activism, it's being a good citizen, I think. But to take it to the other side, these are opportunities for them to tell those stories in new ways. And that is for us telling our story, but we can do it in the established modes of theater so that audience is comfortable seeing something they think they know, but we can give it to them in a new way. But as far as theater companies, I mean, they come and they go. We are going to spend the next year easily, because remember that first year of COVID, and it's horrible to even have to think that we're like counting years of this.
Yeah.
But that first year, everything shut down. Okay. And funders gave people money. It's like, just stay in place and be safe, and we'll see you next year. And now we're coming back out of it, and some of those funders are kind of going, no, wait a minute. It's time for you to, one, for you to get back to work, and two, what are you trying to do? How is this worth doing? I mean, that question is being asked now in a way that it hadn't been asked in a long time. And hopefully the smart theater companies will take advantage of that and take advantage of us and bring us into the mix and be able to offer something fresh.
Yeah. I think you've nailed the hit. You've nailed it.
Put the nail on the head.
Put the nail on the head. Yeah, thank you very much. Because you're absolutely right. Because if you get funding, the people who fund you, they want to know, okay, what are we paying for? Or,
Yeah.
what type of theater are we getting? And if it's not what they want, you may lose that funding. I mean, I don't know if Bindlestiff, I mean, you've been involved, Golda, with Bindlestiff, not only on stage, but also off stage. I mean, you've been a producer. Have you been a part of the managerial staff? Have you been helping out, oh, Mario, what
Oreen
is it?
and Oliver. Yeah, Oreen Almario.
Aureen, yes, thank you.
Yeah, he's the artistic director, and Oliver Sari is the managing director.
Yeah.
Um, they work, they have this is the craziest thing. They have a huge job um, doing getting the grants and coordinating the community, community element. And then there's the production team, which helps produce the the ongoing, like the Stories High, for example, the comedy workshops that Kevin was doing. They also have this Cuento series, which is like more of a long form for stage. And
There's
kind of
also the
keeping,
Fobcast too, right?
yeah, right, the Fob Show, Love Edition,
Granny Card
Forbidden Features
Gangsters.
is, yeah, Granny Card, of course. They're a theater, they're a comedy troupe that's resident artists of Bindlestiff. Forbidden Futures is the sci-fi uh, show that I was involved with. But there's like these different, entities and different communities that help produce things. But there's a team that helps organize that. I like to jump in with my own projects because, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I like to produce and then just introduce a project, and hopefully, they can co-produce it. And they've always been real helpful with like lending their tech, and like uh Dave Ragazza is great with helping out with tech and things like that. Lindsay and Joe have helped behind the scenes as well. But like how you guys are producing online, we were, you know, a lot of it was so unprecedented. One time everything was live, like the whole show with like over 40 plus actors. And then the next show, I was like, everything's gonna be recorded. Like I'm not doing a live show with 40 plus people. That's crazy. Like honor system jumping on, on cue. Like what's a stage manager to do? Text you, so
Right.
right, like, and we did
Yeah.
that. Like I had my one of my best mates. I was like, dude, are you are you in the Zoom room? Like, where are you? I don't see you in here. Texting her and then being like, hi, are you your set's in 3 minutes? Like I can't bang on her door, you know it's just all honor system, honor code.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's wild, but it's fascinating, that Bindlestiff is doing all of these cool
Yeah.
things, and also putting on the hat of the producer, and that leads to, and it's 4:08, so I want to be respectful of people's time. But where do you see yourself in the future? I mean, when I think of you as I really have to, and I'm sure the COVID-19 has affected you as with your band. Do you still have your band with you? I mean, I'm assuming that
um
you still gig.
yeah, so I have a couple of bands. The Soft Stars, which is a post-punk band. We did our album. We released our album kind of like at the beginning of the pandemic. Did a couple of videos. Death Glam, that was a fun band. That was a grindcore band. We did a bunch of like tours in the um, Fresno area. We did some of the house, the house shows, and grindcore is a different kind of scene. So um, we got kind of a kick out of that. With music now, I'm mostly producing and just writing on my own. So just a lot of guitar songs. Um, and there's different projects that they go into. So like there's this concert narrative that I'm writing called Dark Heart, which is like a sci-fi, Filipinx futurism type of play that I've released in different excerpts. But it's film, video, music. So I've been doing most music, just guitar songs.
Do you ever post them online, like let's say on SoundCloud or Spotify or anything like that?
I do some YouTube stuff. Sometimes I'll just stream live on Facebook or something, or post some things up on there. Kind of like, I kind of keep it private still. I'm of that generation where I'm still pretty private about what.
Yeah, but I mean, you should put you should I think you should promote yourself because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
a fantastic singer.
Oh,
And
thank you.
but also, I mean, I was just thinking, it just popped in my head because sort of like you, well, actually, you do a way more than I do. But I remember writing for my dad's group, and I was like, wow, I have all of these songs and it's just collecting dust. I'm not doing anything with it at all. And then I connect with a group called Play Cafe or Musical Cafe, and I cobble some of my music and just write a couple of scenes to link them together. And I produce a little mini musical. I'm sure you could do the exact same thing. I mean, have you thought about doing something like that?
It's awesome. Yeah, the concert narrative is kind of a gesture towards a musical. And I'm trying to do more just kind of looser little playlists type of thing. Like if a music library right now, what I'm doing is a 5-song LP with songs based on my anime slash manga favorites. So I have a song that's based off of Lone Wolf and Cub. I have a song based off of Tekken Concrete, Black and White, which is this crazy anime manga. Um, the Buddha series by Tetsuka, and a few others that are kind of like in homage to these other stories that have kept me company. So I'm doing these teeny tiny little projects that are kind of in homage to my to all the media that I shove in my face over the.
Well, if you ever have any links, then let us
Oh
know
yeah,
because we would
absolutely.
love to promote what you're doing.
Well, Spotify, the Soft Stars is on Spotify, so you'll be able to find us there.
Soft Stars,
The Soft,
SOFTSTARS.
yeah, and uh, Death Glam has stuff on Bandcamp. You'll be able to find us. Band,
Bandcamp.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lady that I'm talking to, online dating. That's totally different subject matter. But in any case, she introduced me to Bandcamp just a couple of days ago. So I think I'll check that
Yay.
out. What'd you,
Okay.
what'd you
Yeah. Well,
say? What'd you say, Norman?
I said, yay. I'm it's funny because I just read because of all the stuff at Spotify right now, which we didn't talk about.
Oh,
right.
yes. Yeah.
Yes, because of that, Bandcamp is getting lots of promotion.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Spotify, they're holding on to Joe Rogan, even at the expense of losing artists like Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, and
Yep.
could be some others. So they're going to have to decide,
David
how
Grohl, the
valuable
Foo
is Joe Rogan?
Fighters. Yeah, no, they got problems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt like Bandcamp was more of a format for musicians more than listeners. I feel like Spotify is more of a listener, audience-driven format, and Bandcamp was simply like a place for bands to like put their, publish their stuff as kind of like to like a press kit type of vibe, like here's my music on Bandcamp, and in case you want to just send it to radio. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Bandcamp's getting love. Yeah.
Yeah. Because you throw things online on there, and then you can use the link to send it to. It's
Oh
almost
yeah,
like an audio resume.
absolutely. Yeah.
Death. What was the last name of that?
Glam, as in from glamorous.
Glam. Yeah, Death Glam.
Death Glam. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have links to that, and we'll because we want to promote you and everything that you're doing. Soft Stars and get Death Glam.
Mhm.
Very, very cool. All righty. It's 4:14. I mean, I'm having fun. I have no rush at all. So, Golda, where do you see yourself in the future? What do you want to do in the next, I don't know, 10 years, 20 years? Do you want to,
5
I don't know,
years,
do you got to go to New York or LA, or are you happy where you are right now?
I mean, I think if there's one thing this pandemic has taught us is that you could be whatever you are or wherever you are. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm down to follow like projects. I'm like I am 40 years old, and by now I realize the way I work best is just project to project. So if it goes from this place to that place, that's cool. But for myself as an artist, I hope that in the future I will find a way to be satisfied. I will find a way to like create a place for all these songs I've been writing. I hope to write all my songs down with the chord charts and the lyrics, for my kids, you know, for my son. And I'm actually training them to teach to read my cursive right now. It's very important, kids. You got to go through mama's little notebooks. You got to know how to read her writing. So
Yeah.
it's
They,
just
you,
heirlooms, you know, artistic heirlooms for my children. Like, um, it's so beautiful when you hear them singing one of your songs, or like when my son learned how to play some of my songs. It's like such a treasure. It's like, that's what I mean by these will, you know, if you teach your kids or if you indulge them in expressing themselves in like artistic ways, when they actually have something, like that's going to be such good company for them, you know, their whole lives. Like,
yeah, I still hold on. I think it's a conversation that you and I had, Golda, when we were at Bindlestiff, that I
mm,
talked about, that I still have recordings of my dad when he recorded in the 80s and the late 70s, you know, even just rehearsals, and him
yeah.
stopping rehearsal and telling someone, no, you know, you came on the wrong beat, or, you know, this is where, you know, those things are just valuable, and they have, you know, I will never ever trade them away. And luckily because his house burned down a couple of years ago, and luckily before that happened, I transferred all of his audio tapes to digital. So I have them on MP3s. And I
Blessing.
imagine your kids will do the same, or you'll hold on to, let's say, recordings they did when they were 7 years old or something.
Mhm.
Those things
Yeah.
have, you know, they're just incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I feel you're absolutely right. Like to have those from your dad. And I just want to be able to, when I say satisfied, I want to say what I've been trying to say all these years. Now, I don't know if, you know, you folks have been making something for years. It takes years for those non-creators out there. Sometimes when somebody makes something, they're making it for decades, you know, or they're formulating this thing that they're trying to say, or this point they've been trying to make, or trying to, you know, this intangible thing they're trying to articulate. Like, that's sort of what I hope to be able to, you know, show my kids, that it is, you know, like, sing it, speak it, write it, like it's worth it. Like if that's your life work, if that's what, you know, like mama, she did that. Like I want them to be able to say that. Like she wrote her songs, or she wrote her play, you know, she figured out what she wanted to say. Like I want to have that kind of impact on, you know, the people in my life.
Yeah. Not only your family and friends, but also just the community. I mean, you know, someone's going to walk into Bindlestiff or to Shotgun or online, and they'll say, "Wow, you know, who created that?" And you know, it'll be Rebel Maria. Yeah, I think as I've gotten deeper and deeper into just arts, as far as music and theater, even the artwork that I have, you know, of the shows that I've done,
Hmm.
some of the best art that I consume are not done by Hollywood or by, you know, the recording industry, you know, some big, you know, multi whatever. It's created by us. You know, the best art is created by, you know, something that we do.
Hmm.
And those are the ones that speak near and dear to my heart, because I know the stories behind it and how much it took to create it. So that's really, really awesome. All righty. Birthdays, shout outs, birthdays.
Mm,
Norman, you there?
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh, good. My Wi-Fi is messing up too. Good God.
Are you ready for birthdays?
I
I can go first.
go. I got him. Come on. Here we are. Today, it turns out, and I did not know this, so I feel a little bad about it, is my brother's birthday. James, happy birthday. uh, we're half brothers, so we don't have quite the same connection, but it is his birthday. But in the theater world, PJ Phillips, somebody I got to meet at the Willows Theater, which when I say the Willows Theater and somebody knows what I'm talking about, I'm like, you've been in theater for a long time, because they closed like
wow.
almost 20 years ago, I think. But anyway, PJ is an amazing singer and has been working all over the Bay Area. Robert Henry Johnson is, I don't know what to call him. He's a dancer, performer, choreographer, producer, guru. His birthday is coming up today. And then the last one I think I have for today is Pamela Ellen, an actress that I got to work with, I believe, at Word for Word. And we haven't been in touch in recent years, but a while ago she was in Oakland, so we were bumping into each other, which was kind of fun. Rondrell McCormick's birthday is coming up this week. We had him on the show,
Yes, we
and
did.
we did As You Like It together with San Francisco Shakespeare Festival. Michelle Aprinia Levy, I think it's got to be Levy, is also another Oakland person, theater artist. And I think Michelle and I think our paths cross, but I don't know that we've actually gotten to work together. And then the last one is somebody I went to San Francisco State with, Steve Ortiz, and got to work with last year, and hopefully we'll get to work with next month on the James Baldwin project. I have a very short list this week. I'm very happy.
Yeah, and mine is even shorter. You took Rondell McCormick. I had him on. His birthday will be tomorrow, the 31st. The only other one that I have is Bridget Dutta Portman. I've talked about her ad nauseum, and we've had her on.
Yeah,
wonderful playwright, and she actually has a book out, which we've been pushing. I don't have the link to that book as of yet, but just a wonderful playwright that I've met during doing the Playwright Center for San Francisco. She wrote a wonderful one-act play called Mr. the Bear, and the actor and actress who did it, you had tears in their eyes. It was so beautiful. But she's a fantastic writer, and I forget what episode she was on, but she was really, really influential. And yeah, I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else.
Is Dragon Productions, is that done?
Dragon Eggs? I'm not sure. I'm
looking right now, and I don't see dates on this. I just see announcing Kimberly Ridgway is producing it and directing, and she's amazing. So
yeah,
on the peninsula, that's worth checking out.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to push my hate letter to the Great American Theater, Shotgun Players. That'll be February the 17th through the 20th, so only 3 days. But I think there's something that's happening earlier than that. I
forwarded something to you that's at ACT. Local guys at ACT putting together a show that's got a weird title.
Okay.
But I just forwarded it to you.
You can email it to me. Don't do it on Zoom.
No, I emailed it.
Oh, okay, great.
I just emailed it.
Yeah. But Golda,
something love for that.
Okay.
Something love supreme is the. Let me see if I can pull it up this time.
Okay.
I tried to pull it up. Freestyle love supreme.
Freestyle Love Supreme.
So it's actually a New York group and some local guys coming together and working it out.
Tommy Lee, is Tommy on there? Yeah.
Yep. Tommy Shepard is in it. Yep. Yeah, there's a gorgeous little video of the it's like 8 people standing in front of ACT, just beatboxing off the top of their head. It was pretty amazing.
Felonious Monk. Tommy and I did something at ACT called Holy Crime. It was a Tom Shepard play. Tommy was in it. ACT, it was years ago, but he's an incredible musician, MC, percussionist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool.
He's great people.
Wow, small world.
Alphabet Rockers is his kids group.
Yep. And Antique Naked Soul is the a cappella group.
Right. Yes, with the lady.
No, Tommy, I'm a big fan of Tommy. Tommy and I got to do a series of readings with Word for Word, probably about 4 years ago now, 3.5 years, 4 years ago. And we hadn't seen each other in forever. It was like, I was so happy to see him. He is great people.
He really is.
Yeah. Is there something now? No, my hate letter to the Great American Theater. Is there something happening earlier than February the 17th, Golda, or does it begin February the 17th?
I'm reading for Jeannie Baroga.
When? What are you doing for Jeannie?
She's doing great things.
Did you see her email? I think she wants to come on the show next week.
Yeah. And she's promoting her book.
Right. Turn Left at the Water Buffalo.
That's right.
Water Buffalo. Yeah. Jeannie and I have been working together on her other book on Bay Area theater.
Oh, the Bay Area. Yes.
Yeah.
Not Bay Area, California, right?
Yeah, that's right. Jeannie is incredible. She's constantly working, and she's constantly working, and she's constantly reinventing her work in a current context. It's just really inspiring. Like it's so cool to see her reshape and become current again, really.
No, she is one of my oldest friends in Bay Area theater.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, I love Jeannie. So I'm doing something for her, and then I'm doing a reading for Bindlestiff, Oliver Saria's long, full length called Mama Inay Dalisay's Lechon. It's this full length about a Filipino family.
Yeah.
That's centered around lechon, the roast pig, just like it
Uh-huh.
sounds. So that's gonna happen on February 13th, I think. Just
Nice.
and then I think that's it. I think that's it. I have just some recordings and stuff. I've been doing some recordings with just different musicians as well. But
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
17.
Yeah. If you have links to that, you can send that to us.
Sure.
And we'll have a link to the My Hate Letter to the Great American Theater. That's not going to happen until February the 17th, but we'll have the link there for you. Also, the Hollow City Lights Theater and Yumi Kabori will be acting in that. That began January the 20th. It ends February the 20th, and we'll have a link to that. Also, there are a couple of podcasts that I want to push. Barry Graves, our good friend, has a podcast, The Black Man's Heart. So check that out, Spotify and all of your podcast apps. Mallory Samara, her day job is working for KCBS Radio as a producer, and she has a show called Connect the Dots, a weekly news podcast. So check that out. Also, we've talked about Bindlestiff Studio, the Fobcast, exploring Filipino American immigrant stories. So check that out. And that's it. Golda, did you have a good time?
I did. I had a great time.
Yay.
I want to. I also want to say that Shotgun is doing in person, but there is one day that they are live streaming, which is February 19th.
Nice.
Yeah, so
All right.
17th, 18th, 19th is in person, but on the 19th they're live streaming it as well, and the 20th is a matinee show. Yeah, I had a great time. It's so rare that we get to talk about art and just pivoting and challenging, like even in the like my art is a little underground. You fellas do a lot more. I feel like you're the theater that you both hit is pretty established. So it's nice to talk to people who are dealing with these types of issues in the arts right now. So thanks for having me.
Yeah. And as far as I honestly think that theater, I mean, if the job to be done with theater is to reach to people, then what you're doing is and Shotgun reaching out to you. I mean, whether you call it countercultural or underground theater, I mean, it needs to be accessible. And if theater isn't accessible, if you have to, put on your three-piece suit to go to a theater, then there's something wrong. There's something lost in that. So although there's some folks who went to school for theater, or let's say we were talking last week about the tragedy of Macbeth. I actually saw that in the theater. I wanted to see did you see that, Norman? Denzel Washington, the
Oh,
movie?
and we talked about going. We haven't gone yet. I've talked to a number of people who've seen it, mostly pretty positive. And then I read these reviews that were just sort of like, because they're doing it with a bunch of British heavyweight classical actors.
Yes.
So
And
that's a challenge.
That can push people away. I mean, I'm proud that Denzel Washington did it because, it's a good thing to put on your belt. But to get back to what you were talking about, Golda, I think that theater needs to be accessible. We had Aureen, and she talked about going to see Hamilton. And it was the first time that she saw people on stage that looked like her, like in a high class theater setting. Like I forget where she went to see Hamilton, and they were doing, like rap, hip hop, a type of theater that's accessible to people on the ground. And I think that that's still very, very important. So we're happy to have you on. And that's, you were one of those folks who I was like, please come on. I think I've asked you a couple of times, and finally it's wonderful to have you.
I realized that now that I looked at our thread, I was like, oh snap, Reg has like been so kind all this time. So thank you so much for asking me again. And I honestly think that like theater being accessible, like there's two ways. There's like people going in the door and people coming out the door. And I feel like it should be accessible as far as people being able to come to see it, but it should also be accessible in our stories going out the door as well, right? Like, I love being able to see different versions of Shakespeare. I studied Shakespeare. I want to write I want to write. I want to be the new Shakespeare. Like I think being understood is, I love accessibility, but being immediately understood is overrated. I love a little bit of crypticness and mystery. With that being said, like it should be definitely a place to be expressive. There's a line in the play of My Hate Letter where, I'm not going to spoil anything by saying this though, but it's just like, theater is a place where we get to tell the truth. It is a completely accessible place where we can tell the truth, and not many places are like that. So whether it's understood immediately, having to be studied, or just a safe place where people can connect all of, after all these years, like Bindlestiff, like theater has definitely been home for folks who have been able to express themselves, creatively. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, very much so. And you're so right about theater speaking the truth, even if folks don't want to hear the truth. I mean, sometimes you walk into a theater and you have no idea what's going to be expressed. But if it challenges you, if it makes you think of things differently and think of people differently, oh, wow, there's an Asian woman on stage, but she's not speaking the way I usually think Asian people speak. All of a sudden, your perspective changes, and that's a good thing.
I remember, if I may, watching you, Reg, perform for the first time, and I was very impressed with how you seemed to be very, like, you were acting like in a way that was, it was, I want to say professional, but really the word is sincere, like, and not earnest, like new or rookie-ish. It was like, just, you was acting your ass off, and I was like, oh God, okay, this is how you do it, kids.
Thank you. I don't even know what piece that was. Yeah.
It was with the bass. It was
That was Patrick Silvestri wrote that. That was I know what it was, and boy, I still feel bad about the bass, but it is what it is.
Troubled Waters, a bridge under.
Troubled Waters, yeah, exactly.
Well. But I always appreciate your incredible skill. So
thank you so much. All righty, well, this wraps it up, and I want to get everybody out of here because it's a beautiful Sunday. We usually do this on Saturdays, but we're doing it for Sunday. For those of you who are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. As the kids say, click on the bell for updates on when we have new episodes. Tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, and we will react in kind. Also, let me, because sometimes I forget, we have jerseys. We have white jerseys, we have pinstripe jerseys, we have black jerseys. Huh?
Yes, we do.
Yes. So pick up a jersey. Lorna, Lorna Garcia, she has a jersey. I talked to Conrad Panganaban. He bought a jersey. So, a lot of folks have bought jerseys. So it's $30, and just, PM me, private message me, and I will get that to you. If you're listening to this on the traditional podcast app, you can find us on Spotify. We're on the Purple Podcast app if you're listening to it on an Apple or an iPhone, an Apple product. If you're an Android user, you can use the SoundCloud app or just go on soundcloud.com and you'll find us. The Yay was created by theater people for theater people. If you have a show you want to advertise, or if you just want to advertise yourself, let us know, hit us up. We're at the Yay3 on Twitter. That's our official Twitter feed. I'm at Red Space Clay.
And I'm at Who's Your Hoosier.
Golda, do you have a any like Instagram or
I'm Rebel Maria on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. So if anyone wants to find a fantastic actress, or if you want to book her for a singing opportunity for her band, you can't go wrong with Golda or Rebel Maria. That is it. Thank you so much, everybody. And as Norman and I always say,
we gotta find a better sign off.
All righty, and we are out.